Hi, everybody. My name is Ladiana Delgado, and today I will be discussing the history of women's voting rights. I have decided to choose this topic because I recently took a class in women in politics, and I now admire Alice Paul and Elizabeth Cady Stanton and all of their achievements and everything that they did to pioneer all of the women's rights, not just the suffrage. I want to go ahead and start off with this quote from Alice Paul that really highlights the movement and what she was trying to accomplish at the time. The quote states, "There will never be a new world order until women are part of it." I believe that Alice means that women need to be a part of the world and need to be a part of the conversation in order for all of us to progress equally and fair. Um, I definitely agree with these words. I think that Alice really highlighted everything that she was trying to do just by this statement. I want to go ahead and start off by talking about her background and why she's very important and crucial to the suffrage movement. She was born in New Jersey in 1885 to a Quaker family. Alice attended the University of Pennsylvania and obtained her sociology degree from there. After this time, she actually decided to move to England, and she was very intrigued by the women's suffrage movement that was currently happening in England at the time. And this led her to want to become a part of it and to be part of the movement and see what it has to offer. So she started rioting and protesting with them in the streets. She was arrested and she was definitely beaten on the streets just because she was advocating for women's suffrage. However, this did not stop her. She came back to the States and brought that fiery energy with her. This led her to join a Women's Suffrage Association. And while she was working with the Suffrage Association, she was organizing protests in front of the White House while Woodrow Wilson was president, just kind of bringing women together to protest the need for them to have a place in government and be able to pick the people that represent them because they live in these cities, they live in these states, and they also need equal representation, just how their male dominant figures or their husbands or their brothers or their fathers had. The main point about Alice Paul is that she believed that in order for women to have rights, they need to start by suffrage. Next up, I want to go into Elizabeth Cady Stanton. I also wanted to start off with a quote from her. This one says, "We hold these truths to be self evident that all men and women are created equal." This quote might sound a little bit familiar, like the first section of the Constitution. That's because Elizabeth Cady Stanton rewrote this and showed it to Congress. And this is the section that she rewrote and was brought into question when they were deciding on the 19th Amendment. So she played a major role when it came to the women's suffrage movement. Some basic information about Elizabeth Cady Stanton is that she was born in Jamestown, New York. She came from a family that thrived on academics, therefore, she excelled in academics. Her father was a lawyer, and she also had a brother that sadly died at a young age. This caused her family to go into this just sadness and kind of wishing that Elizabeth was a male and that she was able to fulfill like the family male duties because she was the only child left. This is what most political science analysts and also historians believe was the main route to her energy to being a suffrage activist. Um, After her life as a child, obviously she grew up and she got married to her husband, who was an abolitionist. And this basically means someone that was fighting for the rights of African Americans so they can have the right to vote. Um, her and her husband, for their honeymoon, traveled to England for a convention that was in support of suffrage for African Americans, men, of course. and she was not allowed to enter the convention because she was a woman. She found this very odd, and this is really a critical point on where the abolitionists and where the women's suffrage movement kind of like divided, because this kind of energy was brought back when they went back to the United States. The main thing to know about Elizabeth Warren, like I mentioned before, is that she reworded a section of the Constitution that was brought into question by Congress for the 19th Amendment. I also want to share another quote from another suffrage activist, um, Alva Belmont. She says, "Ask God, she will help you." This is a beautiful quote that kind of just highlights the suffrage movement and how radical these women were getting over the right to vote and just any other basic right. This kind of brought that attention to, well, I don't have this. Oh, wait, I also don't have this. So this is where women started to get the like, oh, wait, I don't have any of these rights. I kind of have to start fighting for it. And they became very radical. And I believe that this is where the radical feminist movement really started to be birthed. In conclusion, all of these women were great contributors to the 19th Amendment and the progression of other women's rights. Definitely Alice Paul's theory that having the right to vote leads to everything else is by far very true. You kind of need to be able to vote in order to have any other rights because you choose who is making these decisions for you, these legal decisions for you in Congress and in the Senate and even the presidency. So having the right to vote is very important in selecting someone that is going to represent you and just represent you well. So these are my sources. I want to say thank you for watching my video and let me know if you have any questions. Bye.